I'm now joined by Dylan Gedig of Red Nexus Games. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me.
This is a treat for me because I now get to talk to an actual developer. I speak to a lot of ad platforms and whatnot, and it's nice to finally talk to someone who makes the games that these people are advertising. So thank you for that.
No worries.
What are you here promoting? What's the game that you've been working on, and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so our most recent game is called Peglin. It came out in early access in April of last year, and we've just been continuing to throw content at it to try and make it better and better. And what we're up to now is starting work on the mobile port, which will be rolling out towards the end of March or early April. So we're here at Pocket Gamer to kind of try and learn as much as we can and form the partnerships that we might need to make that as successful as possible.
Well, you said you've been working on the game since around about 2019, and you were doing console platforms first, and maybe we're going to introduce it to mobile later, but you've now sort of moved that up a little bit. What has that been in reaction to?
Yeah, that was our original plan. So yeah, we started the game in 2019, and then when the pandemic kind of hit in full force, that was when we really started focusing on it, and also when the game kind of found its own footing. So we found an audience, decently early on, and thankfully that led to a successful early access release. And, in our original kind of naive planning, it was like, we'll do PC early access, consoles with our 1.0, and then mobiles later on as just kind of have the game there available and make sure it's, playable and ready to go. And what happened was when we got into that PC early access, the community started asking, I would love a way to play this on the go. Like, it's such a good fit for a mobile platform. Like, why can't I play this on, my Android phone or my Apple phone? And that was when we kind of revisited our plans to bump that up, make mobile part of our early access release, and then we'll still have a big 1.0 celebration kind of a little ways down the line.
So really reacting to the community response then. What type of game is it, by the way?
It's a pachinko roguelike, we call it. So as opposed to a traditional deck building roguelike where you're collecting cards that you would play to defeat enemies, you play almost a little game of pinball. You collect different balls with different attributes, different physics, different attacks attached to them, bounce them through a little peg field, and that determines how much damage you'll do to your enemies.
Gotcha. Now, you're launching the game as a premium model. I imagine that's partially a result of coming from console, where it's much more familiar. Nowadays, some people might say premium model on mobile. That's a bold move, because everything has kind of moved into either free-to-play or ad-supported. What were your feelings on it? What kind of advice did you get prior to taking on the development of the game?
Yeah, it's funny. We tell people that we're going to release this game, premium, $10 on mobile, and a lot of people at this conference have looked at us like we have two heads. Like, you're insane. That's not optimized for mobile. Here are the things that you have to do to be successful on mobile. And we did spend a little bit of time investigating that. Does the design of the game match that? Can we have a fun game with the tools that we have, with the platform that we've built that embraces that model and leans into it? And we eventually just kind of came to the conclusion that anything we change for that degree wouldn't be the same game anymore. So whether or not in the future we have a spin-off or a sequel or something that it goes into that free-to-play model instead, that might be something that we do. And that would be nice in some ways because it would make the game a lot more approachable for, a wider audience. But just given the fact that we've cultivated such an excellent community with the existing premium model, we decided that was just a better method to branch out to and go that route for our mobile release as well. More of a just one-to-one direct port than a mobile-specific build, essentially.
Gotcha. And with this mobile build being out towards the end of the year, or at least certainly the early access version of it, what is it that you're looking for at the show? You mentioned about maybe meeting up with other developers for a little bit of the old mind share, but are you looking for publishing? Are you self-publishing? How are you going about it?
Yeah, we'll be self-publishing this release as well. We kind of interviewed some publishers for the initial PC release and didn't find anything that was a great fit for what we were looking for. It didn't help that, the initial publishers kind of passed on the game until it had reached a certain level of popularity from what we had already done. So by the time they were interested, it was almost too late. So no partnerships kind of materialized there. So for mobile, we're just going to kind of skip all of that, looking around stage, self-publish with the community that we have available already. And just
you call that the Vampire Survivors route these days,
exactly.
Where they just know we do it ourselves, it's fine.
Yeah, do it our own way. So what we're looking for here is just kind of best practices and pitfalls to avoid from other developers that have done the same thing, and other partnerships that, aren't necessarily publishing, but might help us make the best game we can and get it in front of as many people that might be interested.
So as a developer these days, with a marketplace as saturated as it is and visibility so difficult to get without the amount that people just spend on trying to, user acquisition and all the rest of it, and even that's by no means guaranteed. You've obviously enjoyed a bit of a community groundswell there. What are the concerns when you're bringing something to mobile, and how much of a gamble does it feel like? As you sit here now, do you feel quite comfortable that you'll be able to do something, or is it genuinely like a flip of the coin and you have to wait and see?
Yeah, for us, thankfully, we're not really relying too much on the mobile release. The release that we're going for is mostly for the community. It's just been requested so much. That's why we kind of bumped it up. So we're not super worried about user acquisition or, finding the audience. There's kind of a mobile game method where you kind of figure out your lifetime value for users, and you throw as much money as you possibly can of that user acquisition, and then, focus on retention a little bit. And coming from the indie scene, specifically indie premium games, where you're just trying to make a game that's as fun as possible, and your marketing is kind of content creators playing your game because they enjoy it, users playing your game, players finding your game and liking it, sharing it with their friends. So it's really, we're kind of researching the mobile way that's kind of taken over and is the industry standard, but we're really going to approach it our own way and do it the kind of indie way that we've found success with already. The original game started as a hobby project, and I think the way it was designed because of that really resonated with people. And so you really don't want to lose that along the way.
I'm going to assume a fairly small team. Is it just yourself, or you got a bunch of folks with you?
Yeah, it was just myself originally, but we've grown to 6 people now. So we're not a massive team, but we're a little company now, which is kind of nice.
So that's still modest. And I imagine you're all focused on this at the minute. Are you already looking at potential future projects, or are you just keeping your eye on the ball at the minute?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to be dabbling with future projects. This game came from a game jam, so it's been really killing me not participating in game jams for the last several years. But we just owe so much to our community that we are just solely focused on getting this game to the finish point. We're still in early access right now, so there is a lot of people that have kind of given, shown their faith to kind of jump on this early with the idea that it will one day be this fully polished, finished game. So we're really just focusing as much as we can on that right now. And then we'll start thinking about next projects as we get a little closer to the end of this one.